Mental Health Session 2 Thoughts and Emotions. Welcome back. This session is called Thoughts and Emotions. By the end of this session, you will be able to understand the important role that perceptions play in how we behave towards each other, understand and identify the differences between thoughts and emotions, be able to create your own statements that show the difference between thoughts and emotions, and apply this knowledge to the 4-step STEB model. What we will learn today. First, we will review perception. Then, we will explore the world of thoughts. Then, how emotions have physical sensations. Then, we will practice the 4-step model. Unless a transformation takes place in the inner world, things in the outer world will be more or less the same. This quote points to the fact that the place in which deep and lasting change happens is within us, inside of us. We can change things externally to an extent, but real change comes from within. Lasting happiness and joy comes from inside of us, not from the things outside of us. When a positive change happens within us, then happiness and peace of mind can grow. Let's look at perception again. We learned that we perceive the same images differently. From this, we began to consider that our perceptions of the world are neither right nor wrong. Two or more people can look at the exact same situation and see it in different ways. Learning to see things from another person's point of view helps us to understand others. When we try to see the image from another perspective, then we open our world and see and experience it in new and different ways. Remember this image? Some saw an old woman first, others saw a young woman. Was anyone right or wrong? No. There are different ways to perceive things. In this activity, you try to see the same image from another person's perspective. What is necessary to understand each other? Exactly. Learning to see things from another person's point of view helps us to understand other people. This is an important life skill. When we do not agree with someone, or when we think that our perceptions are the only right ones, then we need to step back and try to look at the situation through the other person's eyes or through their experiences or culture. If someone had a dangerous snake bite in the past, when they see a snake enter the room, they might jump, move back, and feel afraid. When someone else who used to play with snakes and could easily pick them up now also sees the snake enter the room, they will feel calm, pick up the snake, and put it outside. One situation, exactly the same situation. Two people, two different perceptions of the snake, two different sets of past experiences, two different feelings in response to the same snake based upon past experiences, two different behaviors towards the snake. And the differences between the people were not about the situation. The differences in our perceptions were influenced by our inner world, our thoughts, experiences, and knowledge. The differences were not influenced by the external events. It tells us that real change must come from within, just as the quote stated. Usually, we want to change the external situation. Sometimes this might be the good thing to do, but for deep, lasting change, we have to look within. So, perception varies from person to person. When we begin to understand this, then we can understand that perception is not truth. It is just our perception, our way of seeing things, and it will be different from someone else's way of seeing things. Discussion with group. In this session, we will study thoughts and feelings or emotions. What are thoughts? Thoughts are words that go through our mind. Thoughts are involved in how we think, how we learn, problem solve, our ideas, opinions, and beliefs. Almost everything involves thought. Thoughts are usually a string of words put together to represent some meaning, some message that we can understand. For example, Jyoti is hungry. This is a string of three words to create the meaning that someone named Jyoti is hungry. In fact, everything we are doing this week involves thinking. So, it involves thoughts. Let's move to an activity about thoughts. You will do this in small groups of 2 or 3 people. Each small group needs a large poster paper and markers. This activity will have 3 parts. First, writing thoughts. Then, later on, we will write down some feelings. And after that, we will write down some behaviors. On your poster paper, make three sections like you see on the slide here. The top section is for thoughts, the middle section is for emotions, and the bottom section is for behaviors or actions. Write 2 to 4 of thoughts in the thoughts section of the paper. Then we will talk about them. Later, we will address the emotions and behaviors. Discussion with group. What are emotions? There are several theories of emotions, but we will keep this simple. Scientists show that emotions have three parts. An emotion is a personal experience. Emotions usually have a physiological sensation, and emotions are connected to behaviors. In other words, we express emotions through our actions. So, emotions are a personal experience with a physiological sensation and they influence our behaviors. Also, emotions can typically be stated in a single word. Sometimes we use more words, but a single word can also work. Look at this slide. Can you name each emotion that you see in the faces? Use only one word for each one. Discussion with group. The faces represent happiness, anger, surprise, and peaceful joy. Sometimes we describe an emotion rather than just stating it. For example, if someone says, "My heart is smiling," they are most likely saying that they feel happy. Let's make a list of emotions using one word if possible. In groups of 2 or 3 people, on your large paper, in the middle section, list about 4 or 5 feelings. Separate these from the thoughts at the top of the page, like you see in the slide. Then, write a few actions or behaviors in the bottom sections or the paper. An action could be I went to the market, I am playing soccer, etc. Discussion with group. Great job, everyone! You clearly named many emotions using a single word. Now, you have learned something about the differences between thoughts and emotions and even behaviors. And you have had a chance to practice this. Let's now apply this to another activity. When you are done, you will go through the answers with your trainer. For each statement, you need to identify whether it is simply a thought or if that statement is expressing a feeling. So you choose whether each statement is a thought or an emotion, a feeling. For each statement, mark a T if the statement is a thought, or mark it as an E if the statement is an emotion. We will take a few minutes to do this, and then we will go through it together to see if we could see the difference between thoughts and emotions. Okay? Any doubts? You will see a list of 10 statements. Everyone did a great job. It is not always so easy to know the difference between a thought and an emotion, but it is an important distinction to make. They really are two different types of experiences. Now, we are ready to introduce what we call the 4 step model. In the last session, we had a situation of someone being criticized by their superior for not doing a job well. But the superior also recognized the person's abilities. In that exercise, you had to write out what each statement from the superior caused you to think, feel, and behave. Our four-step model will include situation, thoughts about the situation, emotions related to the thoughts, and behaviors influenced by the feelings. It is a simple model called STEB. It basically helps us to see how TEBs, thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, influence one another. The model starts with a situation. In this case, a situation occurs and the thoughts give it an interpretation. So, the thoughts interpret the situation according to how one sees it or perceives it. Depending upon how our thoughts interpret a situation, emotions are then also triggered by the thoughts. Our emotions are expressed through behaviors. Our thoughts can happen so fast that we do not even notice them. These types of thoughts have become habits and are automatic, so automatic that we do not even pay attention to them. So, we might first feel the emotion and only later trace it back to the thoughts that triggered the emotion. For example, if a snake enters the room, some people will first feel fear and never notice a thought. Or we might quickly react to a situation through a behavior and only later realize the feeling that drove the behavior and the thought that influenced the feeling. Here is an example of a situation and how two people have completely different responses to the situation. Remember our perception exercise? Now we see how the way we perceive things can determine how we respond to things, how we behave in the world. The situation is that a hand grenade is seen on the side of a road by two people, one a civilian and one a Jawan who is out to get supplies. The Jawan thinks, how did that get here? Better take it to a safe place. These are the Jawan's thoughts. The Jawan feels calm and curious, wondering about the grenade. These are her or his emotions. What about behavior? The Jawan bends down, picks up the grenade, and returns it to a safe location with other ammunition back at the barracks. This is the behavior. What about the other person? That person sees the hand grenade and immediately thinks, this is a bomb. It could explode, and I have to get out of here. These are the thoughts. These thoughts then lead to feelings. The person feels afraid and terrified of dying. What about the person's behavior? they quickly run away from the area. That is the behavior in response to the fear. So, can you see how thoughts shape how we perceive things? And then the thoughts influence the feelings, and the feelings lead to behaviors. Each person experiences the same situation, but they have very different interpretations. One sees the grenade as a weapon that is not activated, so there is no danger. That person has experience with hand grenades, so has no fear. The other sees the grenade as dangerous and wants to get away because they have no correct knowledge of grenades. Can you see the power of the mind? The power of thoughts? Thoughts strongly influence intense emotions, followed by specific behaviors. This is very important to understand. Just as we saw in the example with the grenade, in boxes on the top row, you outline how one person perceives the situation you create. Write the person's thoughts, emotions, behaviors, TEBs, in response to the situation. Do the same with the lower row, but that person should perceive the situation you create differently from the
After you
other
are
person.
done,
Someone who has not yet spoken can explain your model to the whole group. Discussion with group. Great job, everyone. Here are a few more takeaways from these sessions. It would be good to write these in your notebooks.
key takeaways. Perceptions of the same object or situation are not always the same. Our past experience, knowledge, education, culture all influence how we perceive things. Emotions have a physiological sensation, a feeling aspect that is tangible. The four-step model includes a situation, thoughts, emotions, and actions or behaviors. This model helps us to understand how our thoughts and feelings and behaviors influence each other.